Chinese dragons were never just monsters. That is the first mistake most people make. In the West, a dragon often means a beast at the edge of the map. It guards treasure. It burns villages. A knight comes to kill it. But in China, the dragon did something much more dangerous. It helped a man convince millions of people that he was allowed to rule them. Imagine an emperor sitting alone in a dark hall. Around him are soldiers, ministers, laws, punishments, and rituals. But underneath all of that, he has a problem. He is still human. He can get sick. He can lose a battle. He can make a stupid decision. He can be replaced by another man with sharper soldiers and better timing. So the throne needs something more than violence. It needs a story. A story that says the emperor's power did not begin inside the palace. It began above it. In heaven. And for that story, no creature was more useful than the dragon. Before the dragon belonged to emperors, it belonged to rain. Long before it appeared on golden robes, before it curled around thrones, before a ruler was called the Son of Heaven, the dragon lived in places humans could not control. In the clouds. In the rivers. In the thunder above dry fields. For ancient farmers, rain was not scenery. Rain was survival. Too little rain, and the earth cracked open under your hand. Seeds died before they became food. Families looked at the sky and saw nothing coming to save them. Too much rain, and the river stopped being a river. It became a moving wall. It crossed the fields, entered the village, and carried away grain, houses, animals, and names. So when people imagined the force behind clouds and floods, they did not imagine something small. They imagined something long enough to move through the sky. Something flexible enough to live in rivers. Something ancient enough to belong to thunder. The dragon was the shape people gave to power they could feel, but could not command. And this is the key. Political power becomes much stronger when it borrows from natural power. If people already fear the storm, and the ruler stands beneath the storm, the ruler starts to look like more than a man. He starts to look connected to the weather itself. This is why the old flood control stories matter. The legend of Yu the Great is not only about a man dealing with water. It is about a world drowning in chaos, and a leader who proves he can give chaos a shape. He does not simply fight the water. He understands where it wants to go. He opens channels. He turns destruction into order. That is the political dream behind the dragon. Not a monster killed by a hero. But a terrifying force brought into the shape of civilization. This is why the Chinese dragon feels different from the dragon in a knight's legend. The knight proves himself by killing the dragon. The emperor proves himself by standing under it. One story says power is won by violence. The other says power is recognized by heaven. And once emperors understood that, the dragon began to move. It moved from clouds into ritual. From rivers into robes. From thunder into architecture. A palace roof was not just a roof. A throne was not just a chair. A robe was not just clothing. Each one became a sentence in the same argument. This ruler is not ordinary. Look at the dragon robe. From far away, it looks like luxury. Gold thread. Silk. Color. Pattern. But up close, it is a political machine. Every scale says the world has an order. Every claw says rank is real. Every cloud around the dragon says the body inside this robe belongs between heaven and earth. The emperor did not wear the dragon like a modern person wears a logo. He wore it like evidence. Evidence that his body was not simply private. Evidence that his voice could become law. Evidence that when he sat at the center of the palace, he was also supposed to be sitting at the center of the world. This is why imperial symbols are never only decoration. Decoration makes something beautiful. Symbol makes something believable. And belief is what turns command into obedience. There is a reason the dragon had to be controlled. In later imperial symbolism, the five-clawed dragon became closely associated with the emperor. That detail sounds small. It is not small. Because power needs boundaries. If anyone can wear the same dragon, the dragon stops proving anything. So imagine a craftsman in a dim room, stitching a dragon claw into silk. One extra claw is not just a design choice. It can become a political threat. The symbol is so powerful that even copying it incorrectly becomes dangerous. The wild creature of rain has become a controlled language of rank. And this is where the story turns. The dragon made the emperor look more powerful. But the emperor also made the dragon less free. Look at where the dragon ends up. On stone columns. On palace stairs. On seals. On chairs. On robes. On roof ridges. On gates. The creature that once moved through clouds is fixed into objects. It no longer decides where to fly. It no longer belongs completely to rivers and storms. It belongs to protocol. This is what power does to symbols. First, people fear them. Then rulers borrow them. Then institutions lock them in gold. The more important the symbol becomes, the less wild it is allowed to be. But there is a danger here. If the dragon truly belongs to rain, flood, drought, and heaven, then it can also turn against the ruler. This is the terrifying side of the mandate of heaven. In plain English, the mandate of heaven means this. The emperor rules only as long as heaven appears to allow it. And heaven can change its mind. A drought can become an accusation. A flood can become a warning. A failed harvest can become political evidence. The same dragon that makes the emperor sacred can also make him vulnerable. If the skies refuse rain, people may ask. Has heaven stopped listening to him? If the river breaks its banks, people may ask. Has the ruler lost the order of the world? That is why the dragon is not a simple mascot. It is a bridge. Between nature and government. Between fear and obedience. Between the sky people watch and the palace they cannot enter. That bridge made emperors look chosen. But it also tied their power to forces no emperor could fully control. That is the central irony. The dragon was useful because it was bigger than the emperor. But because it was bigger than the emperor, it could never truly belong to him. For centuries, rulers placed the dragon wherever power needed to feel eternal. The throne room. The official garment. The carved stairway. The seal pressed into law. Each appearance said the same thing in a different material. The empire has a shape. The shape has a center. The center is the emperor. But history is not kind to centers. Dynasties rise. Dynasties fall. Palaces burn. New rulers enter old rooms and claim old symbols. The dragon survives all of them. An emperor dies. A dynasty ends. A law is replaced. But the dragon can be worn by the next ruler, carved by the next court, explained by the next historian, painted in the next festival, and placed behind glass in the next museum. The symbol outlives the hand that used it. And when a symbol outlives rulers, it becomes more than propaganda. It becomes memory. This is why a dragon robe behind museum glass can still feel strange. It is no longer commanding anyone. No one has to kneel before it. The emperor who wore it is gone. The court that understood every thread is gone. The political system that made it dangerous is gone. And yet the dragon still works. You understand instantly that this was not ordinary clothing. You understand that someone wanted the body inside it to look connected to something larger than life. That is the success of the symbol. Even when the empire disappears, the dragon keeps explaining the empire. So when people ask what Chinese dragons mean, the answer cannot be only good luck. It cannot be only water. It cannot be only power. It is where all of those things meet. Rain when people are hungry. Flood when the world breaks order. Heaven when a ruler needs legitimacy. Silk when power wants to be seen. Stone when power wants to look permanent. A museum object when power has already become history. That is why Chinese emperors needed dragons. Because soldiers could take a throne. But symbols could make the throne feel inevitable. Because fear could force people to obey for a moment. But belief could teach them that obedience belonged to the order of the universe. An emperor could say, "I rule." But a dragon could make it look as if heaven had already answered. Yes. The emperors are gone now. Their robes sit behind glass. Their thrones stand in silent rooms. Their seals no longer command anyone to kneel. But when storm clouds gather over old palace roofs, and rain begins moving across the tiles, the story becomes easy to understand again. The emperors did not need the dragon.